the height of the Roman Empire's rise, when its armies were spreading across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. The Roman military became famous for its discipline, organization, and unmatched power. This was especially true between the 1st and 2nd centuries of the Common Era, a time when Rome was not just a city or a kingdom, but the center of a vast empire that stretched thousands of miles in every direction. Now, when most people think of Roman soldiers, they picture legionaries, those heavily armed infantry troops carrying big shields, short swords called lady, and helmets with a simple, practical design. And that's true for the majority of Rome's forces. But not every soldier looked the same. There was another group inside the Roman military that often stood out: the auxiliary cavalry. These were not always native Romans. Many of them were recruited from different corners of the empire: Gaul, Syria, Germania, Thrace, and beyond. And because of that, they brought with them not just their fighting skills, but also pieces of their own cultures, traditions, and styles. One of the most fascinating, and at the same time mysterious, parts of their gear was the helmet with a face mask. You may have seen pictures of them. They look like a solid metal headpiece with a smooth, expressionless human face attached to the front. At first glance, they might seem like something out of a myth or a piece of ancient theater, but these helmets were real, and they were used by Roman cavalry. Now, the big question is, why would anyone wear a helmet that completely covered their face, making them look like a cold, lifeless statue? Were these helmets practical for battle? Or were they more for show, maybe parades, ceremonies, or training games? The truth is, historians still debate this, but what we do know is that these helmets had more than just one purpose. Let's break it down. For legionaries, the regular heavy infantry helmets were built almost entirely for protection. The goal was simple: defend the head while keeping the soldier's vision and hearing as clear as possible. That's why their helmets often had open faces, cheek guards, and neck protectors. But for the auxiliary cavalry, especially the elite units, helmets could be much more ornate. They weren't just about safety, they were also about identity, intimidation, and sometimes even propaganda. And this is where the face mask helmets come in. These were used most famously by elite cavalry groups like the equites singulares who often served as bodyguards, escorts, or carried out special missions. For them, the helmet wasn't just a piece of armor. It was a symbol of power, mystery, and psychological warfare. Imagine this. You're standing on a battlefield, looking across at the Roman cavalry. Instead of seeing men with faces that could show fear, hesitation, or even anger, you see rows of riders wearing cold, metallic masks. No eyes blinking, no lips moving, just smooth, emotionless faces, sometimes with features so perfect they looked almost godlike, and other times with details designed to look fierce or frightening. That alone could shake the courage of an enemy. Because war is not only about weapons and numbers, it's also about psychology. If your enemy sees you as something more than human, as unfeeling, unbreakable, unstoppable, then you've already won half the battle. Some of these masks even carried extra decoration. They could have images of gods, mythological figures, or powerful animals like lions and griffins worked into the design. Think about what that means. You're not just fighting a man anymore. You're facing a soldier who looks like he's wearing the face of a god or the snarl of a beast. The intimidation factor was massive. But it wasn't all about appearances. These helmets had real strength too. The core of the mask was usually made from strong metal capable of stopping sword strikes, spear thrusts, and even arrows. A good example is the Amyang helmet, which had narrow eye slits to balance vision with safety. Some helmets even had a projecting edge at the back to protect the neck from downward strikes. So while the outside could be shiny, decorative, and fragile, the inside was built for real defense. Of course, not everyone agrees about how often they were actually worn in battle. Some historians argue these masks were mainly for parades, tournaments, or cavalry shows, where soldiers performed elaborate maneuvers in front of crowds. These demonstrations weren't just entertainment, they were propaganda, reminding everyone of Rome's strength and discipline. But there's also strong evidence that some of these helmets really were taken into combat. You see? Compared to later medieval helmets, like the heavy great helms or bassinets that came centuries later, Roman face masks didn't limit vision or breathing nearly as much. They were designed with careful slits and openings that allowed cavalry soldiers to see enough of the battlefield while still staying protected. So it's very possible that the elite units, especially the ones who wanted to shock and terrify their enemies, rode into real battles wearing these masks. Another important part of the story is culture. Remember, the auxiliary cavalry wasn't made up of traditional Roman citizens. These were men from conquered or allied territories: Gaul, Syria, Germania, Thrace, Spain, and more. They brought their own heritage into the Roman army. And the Romans, instead of wiping out those traditions, often allowed them to be incorporated into military gear. So, When Assyrian cavalrymen wore a helmet with designs that reflected his homeland, it wasn't just armor, it was a statement of identity. It showed pride in his culture while also showing loyalty to Rome. That's one of the things that made Rome so powerful. They didn't just conquer people and erase their traditions. They absorbed them, reshaped them, and used them as tools to strengthen the empire. The face mask helmet is a perfect example of that, a blend of Roman military discipline with the artistic and cultural expressions of many different peoples. So, were these helmets practical? Yes, at least partly. Were they symbolic? Absolutely. Were they intimidating? Without question. And in the end, whether on a real battlefield or in a grand parade ground, they served the same purpose: to make Rome